Would you like to learn how to make one of these from scratch? If so, then keep watching. Hi, I'm Sarah and I am the crafter behind this channel. I'm here today to teach you how to make this wreath from scratch. This is made out of so many elements. So it's got you've got the bucket, you've got an ice cream, a pair of flip-flops, a sun and a cloud. I'm going to give you those elements to go with this tutorial. What I'm also going to give you is the finished wreath, because this is a two-prong attack. We're going to go quite advanced, but then we're going to go a more basic level. And the reason we're doing that is because depending on what level you are, you can make this wreath. What I'd love you to do is just think, right, I'm going in, I'm going to make the wreath myself and I'm going to design it from scratch. You don't have to design it exactly the same as me. You could do more ice creams and flip-flops. You could do all ice creams, a few buckets and spades. You can do it in whatever way you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to equip you with the tools to do that. So we're going to load these up to Cricut Design Space. I'm going to show you how with slice and weld you can create this. It is a bit of a challenge. I've done this before in events and some people say that, you know, they found it okay. Some people say that it took them a while to master it. But what I would like to say to you is that you can do it, you can create it. It's just about getting your head around some of the processes. If you're completely new here, then maybe go back to my Cricut for Beginners series and watch that, aiming to get to this, because that will show you how to slice, how to weld, how to contour. So it will take you through the different processes that all culminate in creating this. And once you've mastered those, this then becomes that little bit easier. If you're not up for that today and but you want the wreath, then if you jump to the point, if you look below at the timestamp, jump to the wreath where we start contouring. You can download the top layer of the wreath and I'm going to show you how to contour it to create the multi-layered wreath. So you can either design from scratch or you can just get the top layer and create the layered wreath with the contours. It is completely your choice. You do what's comfortable with you. Challenge yourself, most definitely. Don't go with the easy option for you. Go with something that you're going to learn something new. But if you are so new to it that this is so overwhelming, start with the top layer and then come back in a couple of weeks after a bit of practice, after you've been through Cricut for Beginners, and do the designing, because it's so rewarding. Are you ready? Let's jump onto Cricut Design Space and let's get going. We're going to take this tutorial slightly slower because there is quite a lot to take in. So the first thing you'll notice is I've uploaded my elements, but Cricut Design Space has scrolled out again. So I'm just going to re-scroll it back in. I've created a bit of an offset of some of my elements and I'm just going to make them smaller and move them to one side. What we're going to do now is we're going to grab a circle. So go to the free shapes bar, grab your circle and close it. I'm going to colour this so that I can start to see how my wreath builds up, and the circle is there purely for a guide. You're going to need a guide just so that you can see as you're building up your shape. So I'm just going to change that so that it's coloured so I can see, and then we're going to start building. The only thing with this that I find a bit of a pain is that the circle keeps putting itself to the front somehow, so you just got to keep right clicking and sending it back or dragging it down the right hand bar and just pull it down. So I'm going to start my wreath with the sun and clouds, and this really just is about positioning where you want it to sit. Now when I look at this, you can see there that I'm going to overlap the clouds with the sun. You don't have to, you can do it so it's always touching, but I think overlapping just makes it look a bit more detailed. And once I've got it in the position I want it to go in, I'm going to move my guide, and that circle is just a guide. Then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the sunshine, and that's because I want that to be my dominant layer. So I'm going to take all the contours out and I'm going to slice that out of the cloud. Now what that will do is it will take a big chunk out of the cloud where the sun was. You can see that there. So we're going to get rid of all that and then we can pop the sun back in, and what we've done is we've erased the behind layer so that it now looks like the cloud is sat behind the sun and you just haven't got the rest of the cloud sitting so that you can see the lines, which it just doesn't look that good. Now what I've done is I've turned it white. The reason I've turned it white is because you can see if there's any broken lines. You can't have broken lines because if you have broken lines, that will cut. So I'm just going to drag a circle, make it really tiny, and I'm going to pop it over there and I'm going to weld that together. And you've got to check this when you weld your elements together, because as soon as you start welding, if there are broken areas, then it just ruins it. So there you go. So now that's all flowing and all solid, which is exactly what we want. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on background colour. This has changed in the last update. It's moved down to the side, which makes more sense. And I'm going to change my background to grey, because when I'm turning my layers white, then at least I can see. We can drag our circle back in, and that's going to be our guide to build our next part. And you're just building a circle, so as you work around the edge, it just makes it for me a lot easier. Now we're going to pull the flip-flops in, but we want to use these all around the wreath. I'm probably going to use the ice cream and the bucket and spade, but this is a design by eye. I never go in having a plan, and that is exactly the same today. But plans never work, do they? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to duplicate my flip-flops. But I'm just going to rotate it a bit so that it's at a bit of an angle. And these probably won't need as much slicing and welding, but we'll see. And now we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to create a few flip-flops in different directions. So we're going to use the rotate tool for that. That doesn't always work on your image, but if you click more, it's moved there. It's like they just don't want you designing, really. They want to hide everything that makes it easy, but it is there. You can find it. So once you've rotated that, then you can duplicate that a few times. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag another flip-flop up, and I'm going to just start to build my shape, just so that I can start to see how it builds. Move those out of the way, and I'm going to overlap that one. So I will move my guide out of the way, and then I'm going to slice and weld all of these bits together so that I'm starting to form the wreath. And what I've done is I've just clicked the eye on the circle just to get it out of the way. Then I'm going to hide all contours on that flip-flop. I've already duplicated it. You need to make sure you duplicate it, move the sun out of the way, and then I'm going to slice that out of that. And then you'll get no overlap. So I'm going to delete that. And then the element that I've duplicated, I'm going to pull that back in, make sure it's all touching, that's really important. And then I'm going to select all and click weld. Turn it white, and you can see if you've got any areas that are overlapping, so you can just scroll in, and I can see that that's all great, that's perfect. Now I'm going to just pop my cloud there. I'm going to turn my eye on so I can see if I'm in shape, and you can see there that it needs a bit of jiggling, so that's why it's really worth having the circle. So once I've positioned that, I'm going to just rotate that slightly, so again that's up under more. Then I'm going to drag another cloud in, because what I want to do is I want to put a cloud at the other side of the sun. But first of all, I'm going to weld this all together. So select all, go to combine and click weld. And for some reason that didn't do it. There we go. So I can see now that everything's joined. Put my circle back in just so I can see if my next cloud fits in. I'm going to pop that in there. And I'm going to do it so it's under the sun. So I'm going to duplicate this, because this is going to be my main dominant layer. Then I'm going to go to the contour tool and just click hide contours, or hide the contour in the sun. Then I can slice that out of the cloud. Remove. I'm going to keep the cloud. I'm going to remove the rest of it, because they're the bits I don't want. And once I've done that, I can then pop that back up there and put my cloud in, position that, and then I can right click and weld that together. And when I weld it, then what I'm going to do again is check that there are no areas. So I'm going to turn that back white, and I can already see that there is one there at the bottom. So you can spend longer positioning it and get it exactly right, but it's quite difficult to do, and it's really easy just to go and grab a circle and just pop that in. So I'll just get my circle here, pop that in and put that into position and weld it, and that just gets rid of that break, because it's just so important that it all cuts as one. Once we've done that, we can pop our circle back in, and then I'm just going to grab all the flip-flops, and that was my vision of this. I had a really loose plan, but the more I'm building it, the more I'm thinking it's just going to be flip-flops, and I'm going to do it in a couple of colours. So I'm just working around my circle, and trying to build it up. And it's really hard to do, can you see, without the circling. Once you pop that back in, you can see where you're going wrong, and it's just amazing now. Maybe it's me, but my balance just completely goes off without it. And I'm looking at making sure that they're all going different directions. I'm not overlapping these because they don't really need to. What I am making sure, though, is that all of the flip-flops are touching. And you can just see it just takes a bit of faffing about and getting them all where I want them. And now I'm going to right click and I'm going to weld it. It says that it's too large, so somehow that's converted to print and cut. Change it back to basic cut, and I've welded that together. And now we're going to just pop in our ice cream and bucket and spade, and that's just to add a bit of difference to the wreath, but you could mix it up more. It's totally your choice, or you can use mine and just go on to the next stage and use the contouring. But we are on the home run, so it's just so worth doing. So what I'm doing is popping my eye or my circle back in. I'm happy with that, so now I'm going to select all and I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to click weld, and that is the top layer of our wreath. I'm going to get rid of the rest and I'm going to turn this white. I'm going to cut that in white glitter card. So there is my first layer. Now with contouring, it's all about duplicating, so I'm going to duplicate and then contour my first layer. So you start off with a really open layer, and the aim is we're going to end up with a solid layer. So for this first one, I'm just going to remove the contour in the sun, because all we want is the yellow sun for layer 2. And now I am going to duplicate that so that we can work on that layer next. I'm going to move this over and send it to the back and turn it yellow. And there is my first layer. But I've just changed my mind slightly, so I've gone in and changed the colour of my ice cream to yellow. Now I can duplicate that. Now if you change layers, you've got to make sure that it flows through with the other layers. So now that I've got that, I can start on my next layer. So this is my third layer, and I'm going to remove the contours of every other flip-flop. And this is just a matter of going around your circle, every other flip-flop, and clicking on the greyed out areas so that they become the pale grey, and you've removed that contour. So what that's going to do is it's going to make it easier to cut. I tend to take out the trickier areas first, or the bulk, and then you're basically aiming towards having a solid layer. And once I've done that, there you go. I'm going to duplicate it because that's my next layer to work on. And I'm going to just turn this orange and pop that behind there. And now I can drag that to the back, so you can just do that in the sidebar, just drag your layer down, and you can see it's starting to build up. And now for my next layer, and again I'm going to go into contour tool, and this is going to be the rest of the flip-flops, so I'm going to remove all of these contours. Do this because if you make a mistake, if you click on the wrong bit, it all disappears. So I'm going to show you now. It's gone, but all I've done is I've clicked on the actual outline. If you go in and click on the outline again, it will bring it back. So that's just something to note, that if that happens, don't panic. You've just clicked on the wrong bit. Click on the main outline, it will come back. But I'm now working through and I'm just removing all of the rest of the flip-flops. And once you get into a routine, this is quite easy to do. You've just got to work round, click on areas, and gradually it's all going to become one layer. And as you're building that, you're building multiple colours as well. And there you go. So there's our next layer. So I'm going to change the colour of that to probably cut that in a pink, and I will duplicate that and pop that in there. And again, drag it to the back. Now to align it, you can just right click all, go to the top and click on the align bar and center it, and that will bring it all into line. So now for my next layer, and I'm going to remove my cloud. So I'm going to click on the layer, go onto the contour tool and remove the elements of both the clouds. And that's going to be a white layer, but I'll duplicate that, pop that to the back. So I'm just going to drag that down and colour that white. And there you go. There's the colour of my clouds. So we've got 2 more layers to go. We've got our ice cream cone and our bucket and spade. So we're going to get rid of the ice cream cone first, duplicate that. and then pop that to the back. So we're going to turn that brown. I'm probably going to cut it out in more of a biscuity colour and try and match it to a ice cream cone as near as possible. And then here we go, the last layer. So the last layer is my bucket. So we're going to remove all contours for this. That's the easy way to do it. Hide all contours and then bring the middle contour back. I don't know why the cloud went, but there you go. And now that's our back layer. So we can pop that to the back and choose a colour for our bucket. And I'm going to try a red and pop that to the back. And I think I need something a bit more balancing, so I'm going to maybe try a blue. That's better. But now there's just one thing. I am not happy with the ice cream. So I'm going to find that yellow layer and I'm going to duplicate it, because what I'm going to do, and you can do this after because it's not going to affect the rest of the layers. So that contour's been removed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into that layer and I'm going to take out the contour for the ice cream. So I'll show you how. I'm going to take that out, and now I'm going to put an extra layer in behind that just to pop that ice cream back in, but I'm going to make it a mint green, so it's like a I don't know, a mint, chocolate mint ice cream or something. So we'll change that to a green and pop that in, and that just gives it a little bit of an extra dimension. We could have had it yellow as vanilla, but no, I wanted it to be different. And now I'm going to align it all so it's all central, just for my sake really, so that I can check it's all lined up. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to send it to cut. I am not going to video the whole cutting thing because it's going to take ages. There's a lot of layers, so I'll get on with other stuff while I'm doing that. I'll see you at the other end. And here we are, it's all cut out. It did take a while, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers. This is a great file you'd use for scrapbooking or for framed art. It's obviously quite labour intensive, so it's something that you want to display, I suppose is the right way of putting it. And there we are. That's all my layers, and I'm going to start building from the back. The reason I'm starting from the back is if I put glue in the wrong place, then it's going to affect the pattern. I don't know how to demonstrate that, but at least if you're going forward back, if I put glue on the back of that, it's not going to affect anything there. What I tend to do with these is I work on a focal point. So the focal point on this, I'm going to use my hook to pick it up, is going to be my sunshine. And if I get that right, then everything else I can then just shuffle it about and get it right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to fast forward it so that you can see me speedy building it, which is going to be a bit more productive than me just talking through putting glue on the back of a card. Any questions about this process, do ask, but I think the hard work is in the designing. I find it much easier to use my hooks to pick stuff up. And you can see that once you've got it all in position, it all starts to make sense. And before I do fast forward, actually, the process of removing the elements, and the reason that you have to duplicate each layer at each time, and you can see it now we're building it, is so that there's always a different colour able to shine through. And that's the really important thing about it, about the contouring, is that you're layering up, allowing colours to shine through, and that is the reason that you've got to duplicate the layer that you've just contoured. Because if you just randomly contoured different layers, it just wouldn't work, because what you've done is you've started with a completely open layer, which is our front layer, and you've removed a bit every time, and by removing a bit every time you end up with the back solid layer, and you end up with a multicoloured, multi-dimensional file. Okay, so what I did there was I did make a mistake. I put the orange layer down before the pink. What I've had to do is pull the orange layer up and pop the pink inside. Not ideal, but I'm not going to edit it out because we all make mistakes. I just thought I'd show you that you can salvage these things. It was only when I went to put it down, and that's why it's really important to check your layers before you start sticking them down. And I did do that, but then I got giddy talking and wasn't checking. you can see that the colours are really starting to build up and it's starting to look effective. And that's the thing with these wreaths. There are a lot of layers. They take a lot of cutting out. But if you're going to frame them or you're going to use them for an amazing scrapbook lay, then they are worth it. Now, unfortunately, I lost a big chunk of video here, and that was because the sun came out and I didn't realise it had bleached out the video, and my desk is right under a roof window. A problem I've got to live with till next year, but anyway. So what I did to finish off was I used Nuvo drops and I used the glitter self-levelling drops just to give some detail to the ice cream and to my flip-flops, but that is the finished wreath, and I'm really, really pleased with how that turned out. How did you find that? It is a bit of a longer one, a bit of a lengthy tutorial, but it's doable, it's achievable, and you can create that. And I hope you have. Whatever route you chose, whether you chose the design route or the layering route, I hope you achieved it and you're happy with your outcome. Please do go to Extraordinary Chaos Facebook page and share pictures of your wreaths, because I'd like to see what composition you chose. I'd like to see what colours you chose, because you could design this any way you want. And I know that somebody, I'm really sorry, I can't remember who it was, but somebody last week said that they'd like to make one for their grandchildren. Well, you can. You just use whatever elements you want. There's lots of elements over on my shop. Also look at some of my free downloads. There's lots of elements you can use to create these, your own design of wreaths. And these are perfect for scrapbooking, framed art. There's so much you can use it for. Thank you so much for joining me today and crafting along. Any questions, please do ask them below and I will answer, or anything you want to see me create or show you, again, just ask. Have a lovely weekend, happy crafting, and I will see you next time.